The Celtics hit 22 threes against the Jazz on 43% shooting and still gave up a 19-point lead in yet another disappointing loss with poor crunch time execution. Is the sky falling, or is this another forgivable outcome given the Celtics were missing 3 starters? We're going to talk all about it next on First to the Floor.
Who's going to be first to the floor here? And it was Marcus Smart, as he usually is.
Brown drives, layup off the glass.
That's not the first time we've seen a superstar in green and white sacrifice his body.
Welcome in to another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. The Celtics are 3-2 on this long road trip, but it has not come without its disappointing moments. But don't worry, there are some positive takeaways too. Joining us to talk all about it, Mr. Wayne Spoony. Spoons, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. We're this close. They're about to put it together.
Yes,
I can feel it. The run's coming, baby.
We have to live our lives feeling that way. And of course, the man with the mistress, Jake Eisenberg. Hot take, Jake. Welcome back, Jake. How's things?
Look, I've got one in the chamber. It's pretty hot, I reckon, today. So I'm ready to roll.
I had it down on my run sheet to introduce you as a Milwaukee Bucks apologist. But maybe we could talk about the one seed situation there. In a second. I will give you right of reply before we move on.
Joe Ingles makes it really hard for me, man. I love him so much, and he's been playing so well lately. So when he cooks people and he stays in front of people, and he just gives them this look of why are you surprised? Just makes my nationalistic loins start burning, and so it's just tough.
Especially with everything that Ben Simmons didn't do for our nation.
Exactly.
We're looking for gold elsewhere, rose gold. Yeah. Shout out to the Backdoor Cut podcast. All right, Boston Celtics. I will lead by saying in a vacuum, not a bad loss, which contextually, given how the last, we'll say month has gone or more, you can make arguments against that point. No Marcus, no Al, no Rob. It's a back-to-back against the Jazz in altitude, who, they were on 4 days rest. Spoony, what were your main takeaways from this one? Do you agree? Do you disagree? How do you feel about the team right now after this game?
First of all, how do you give a team a rest advantage like that? I think we were in our third and 4 nights, too, with travel. We've gone from Atlanta up to Portland, now down to Utah in a week and a half. So this is exactly what I expect to happen when they've got such a massive rest advantage. We've played recently, so they've got to knock the rust off. We went on this ridiculous tear in the second quarter. We're making everything or the first quarter and then into the second quarter. And then all of a sudden you could just see their legs get tired. They front rimmed 4 straight shots, and the most frustrating thing in the world. And in my opinion, the singular reason they lost this game was we could not secure a defensive rebound during that big run when they erased that 19-point lead. And it was over and over again. We got absolutely battered on the glass and, missing our 2 centers, and, we're on a back-to-back in altitude. That's the type of way I expect to lose, even though when they go up 19, you're like, oh yeah, this will be a great win. But we should all know better by now.
Mm-hmm. I got tricked.
Yeah.
I was in. They went up 19, and I was like, oh, this would be a great time to bet on the Jazz. But no, they're playing so well. They're not going to do it again. Surely not. Yes, in a vacuum, not a terrible loss. The problem is, once you get up 19, all of your feelings are, look, now we're going to go four out of the last 5. The Rockets game doesn't even matter. It's actually kind of good because we get the draft pick. Now won 2 in a row, going to Sacramento. And then we actually get the rest advantage. We'll have 2 days off. They have a back-to-back with the Jazz, and then they play us. You just start getting all all worked up. They pulled me right back in. I turned right back into a regular season beta when I've been a playoff alpha all season long. I got caught up in the wins and the losses. But yeah, they the rebounding and then the zone. They couldn't crack the zone like for a quarter and a half. And you know who's really helpful for cracking the zone? Al, Rob, and Marcus.
Oh, yeah.
Like probably the top 3 guys for beating the zone and playing. I don't know why they didn't go to like Tatum getting the ball in the middle of the zone, and that may be something we can talk about with questions with Joe at the moment, because I feel like Tatum makes good decisions from that spot as well, and like giving the ball to Tatum, you know, at the nail, good things always happen. It feels like. So that was a bit disappointing to not see that, and no Tatum in the post. Come on.
I think yes, more Tatum in the post, please. The thing that they were running a 1-3-1 zone, which is like kind of most teams run like a 2-3 or a 3-2. So they had a guy like right on the foul line. So I think you have to attack it a little differently. And we started to, and I thought Hardy went away from it too quickly. We got like 2 or 3 open corner threes. I think we missed them all. But Hardy just immediately went into a 2-3. And then that's when you get Tatum in that spot. And we didn't do it then. But that initial zone that really flummoxed us was a 1-3. That's like college stuff. You rarely see that. So it probably goes to Hardy being pretty damn good coach if he knows exactly when to bust that out and then when to get rid of it. Once we started to figure out, like, all you got to do is bring those guys on the outside up, and then the corners are just wide open. And what's up, Raph? Thanks for stopping by, brother.
Yeah, look, if you want a game plan against Jason Tatum, just give Will Hardy a call, because that 1-3-1 zone that included like a frantic blitzing of ball screens that was set for Jason Tatum, and it was just like completely focused on making life incredibly difficult for Tatum. And you think about a zone, and like, you know, just by its very title and nature, like you stay within a zone and you guard that zone, but the zone was warping and shifting towards Tatum at all times and making life incredibly difficult for him. And it makes sense that Will Hardy is going to be the guy with the blueprint for that. It's unfortunate now that even more film exists that people can study to make life difficult for Jason Tatum and the Celtics in the postseason. They were double teaming Jason Tatum all night, blitzing him on practically all ball screens. I thought for the most part, Tatum and the Celtics did a pretty good job playing off that. You know, despite the fact that or especially considering the fact that we were missing 3 starters and 3 high potential beneficiaries of Tatum absorbing multiple defenders. Like, you think about the 3-point opportunities that someone like Al Horford would have gotten out of those looks and out of those reads that we know Jason Tatum can make and did make in this game. It's just unfortunate that we're missing so many higher caliber players that we really could have harnessed in this particular one. And then defensively, the Jazz just destroyed us. You mentioned the rebounds before. I think the disparity was 56-40 in favor of the Jazz. Points in the paint, 48-30, again in favor of the Jazz. Second chance points, 20-8, again in favor of the Jazz. And part of that was because our best quote-unquote rim defender was Luke Cornett all night, who registered a healthy 0 blocks, along with Mike Muscala and Blake Griffin, also 0 blocks. Second night of a back-to-back, multiple starters in street clothes. Fatigue absolutely became a factor. You mentioned the front rimming of shots, but letting guys like Taylor Horton-Tucker get to the rim. There was a sequence late in the game where Tatum missed a fairly uncontested reverse lefty layup, which, you know, has a somewhat high degree of difficulty, but, you know, not for someone like Jason Tatum or any NBA player really. And then Taylor Horton-Tucker comes down the other end and hits a spin contested layup right in Tatum's face. Next possession, Jaylen Brown misses a completely uncontested 3-pointer. Next possession, Luke Cornett stripped under the rim, who was seemingly open for a second on the catch, and just fatigue became a factor. We had plenty of opportunities to seal the deal in this one. And I suppose we can get to that last play that unfortunately involved some Grant Williams shenanigans, but many opportunities. I thought the Celtics played the right way for the majority of this game. And unfortunately, you know, they just ran out of gas. And we can't look at these things in a vacuum because there's so much context that goes into each of these games. But unfortunately, you know, if you look at the Twitter sphere and the general voice of Celtics fans everywhere at the moment, like, this is just part of an ongoing trend. The Celtics are starting to suck. essentially, which is tough to cop online as a pro Celtics guy.
Man, you did a great job just there, Ben. You took me on a roller coaster. It was they played well for the most part, like played the right way, and then you read out some of those plays, and then I had flashbacks. One that you didn't mention that causes me a lot of pain. Jaylen Brown, 8-second violation, getting over half court.
Oh my God.
Did you see Derek White's reaction?
Oh yeah, yes. He was what everybody was doing on their couch at home.
Yeah.
Like as they should have been. It's like how, but that speaks to it shouldn't speak to anything. That's just inexcusable. I don't care if it's back to back games. Like you cannot have 8-second violations when it's a close game in the fourth quarter. Like it's just inexcusable. But like that was the game. It was like you just like take out kind of the collapse of the lead and some little plays, but like a lot of like they got a 7-point lead. It was like 2.5 minutes to go. They blow that one as well. Like they did some really good stuff, I thought, on with the rest advantage with the Jazz, but that's just those are the feelings that are invoked by watching the Celtics right now. It's elation and ecstasy and just darkness and despair. All at the same time.
Yeah, I feel like those are all my thoughts about this game and kind of the Blazers game as well. Blazers, it's a different story. Like there's less fatigue. They had obviously a day off prior to that game, and the Blazers have a lot less to throw at you, particularly defensively, and with Grant out for the Blazers too. So maybe we can start to dive into some more macro things coming off of this game. Joe Mazzulla, I think we've been pretty pro Joe, pretty in defense of Joe for the most part this season. He's obviously gained his detractors as the season has gone along, and yet there were some fairly inexcusable coaching mistakes in this particular game. Spoonie, you sort of threw out this little nugget on Twitter before we had to postpone our pod yesterday, saying that you were going to take on the challenging feat of defending Joe Mazzulla. I'd like to hear that because I need more ammo for my own Joe Mazzulla defense in my day-to-day life.
So first of all, let me say, I don't think Joe is one of the best coaches in the NBA or anything like that right now. But the things that people are blaming him don't really make any sense to me. The only thing that I completely agree with the detractors on is the lack of Derek White. Mm-hmm. We need more Derek White. There is no reason not to play Derek White. I did find a stat yesterday, though, that Derek White's got a negative net rate, negative 0.1, so barely negative net rating in fourth quarters.
Still negative.
Yeah, and Grant has a +5 net rating in fourth quarters.
Get out of here, calculator, man.
But I mean, the facts are the facts. We're killing teams with Grant in the fourth quarter and not with Derek White. So, I mean, if we know Joe is a numbers guy and the numbers are telling him Grant's the better option in the fourth quarter, it's at least defensible for him to make that decision, right? I personally don't agree with it. And I know, Jake, I know you don't agree with it.
Come on.
But, I mean, at least with what the numbers are telling us, like, that kind of makes sense to play Grant in that situation, right? If we're killing people when he's on the floor in fourth quarters. But look, people say he doesn't make adjustments. Well, we were getting killed on the boards. He went with Muscala at the 4 with Cornette. Have those two ever played together before? But he just wanted to get size on the court because he had literally no other options. They still got bodied on the boards because the 4 was Mike Muscala, but Joe's got he only has the tools he has, right? So at least he was trying to adjust, and he's keeping shooting on the court with Muscala, but he's also getting size to help us on the defensive glass. It's not his fault they can't grab a rebound and they're getting jumped over by Walker Kessler. So, and I thought he did a really good job in the fourth quarter. Joe, clearly the game plan was run a pick and roll with Tatum, let him get trapped, and then he makes a play out of it. And you saw Grant Williams get so many wide open threes in that fourth quarter, and he hit most of them. Brogdon with the lack of attention, which is going right to the rim. He had a great fourth quarter as well. Cornette should have had a few more points in the fourth quarter if he could hold on to the ball. So I thought that was a great way to attack what Utah was doing. But, we just couldn't secure a defensive rebound when we really needed to. And I mean, on the defensive side of the ball, we're just getting cracked off the dribble by Taylor Horton-Tucker. That's not coaching. That's just these guys either being tired or not having the desire. Or I don't know if you saw Jared Weiss on a CLNS pod today said, I think Joe's got a bunch of guys who aren't really interested in the regular season right now. So, maybe it's up to the coach to convince them to be interested, but they're like 26 games over 500. They're ready for the playoffs. Like, it's hard to get professional athletes motivated sometimes. So, yeah, I don't think all of this is Joe's fault, but I also don't think he's perfect. So he's probably an average coach, and we'll see if that's good enough to win a title or not. But it's really all depends on Rob getting healthy one way or another. I don't care if we had the best coach in the league. Rob's got to get healthy.
Yeah, as fun as Blake Griffin has been, as good as Luke Cornett's been, far exceeding expectations for what Luke Cornett brought to the table. That's not a sustainable front court rotation when you get to playing the Bucks and playing the Sixers. You're going to need Rob. Like we've probably been saying it since, and you can see it in the finals. If Rob's healthy, you probably win the NBA championship, right? So it's like, which is terrifying. Terrifying. We just literally, I got a notification saying that Rob's been not on the injury report for tomorrow. So,
okay, there we go.
Whoa, breaking news.
Awesome. Yeah. So
I'd put it to, if all people, I'd put it to Rob to somehow get back on the injury report between now and tomorrow. But anyway, I digress.
Damn it, Ben. It's true.
He's lost in the 70s somewhere. Him and Doctor Who.
If he plays more than 22 minutes, I'm out. I'm out of here. It's just we're in trouble. But yeah, look, I actually thought Moose was battling. I thought he grabbed a lot of tough.
He was.
That's like when they're running a lineup of Kessler, Kelly Olynyk, and Lowry, you got 3 7-footers out there that are all like pretty good on. Especially, I mean, Kessler is a monster and has been a monster all season long. Like that was going to be an issue. Like even if Al had been playing, that was going to be a problem. Like, yeah, that was the last play. Are we going to talk about the last play? Who are we going to put that one on?
That was on Joe. There's no defending that. There's no defending that. Yeah.
There is there was a quote after the game, and of course I don't have it here. I've copy and pasted the wrong quote.
That's the Kessler quote.
First to the floor, baby.
Jeez, rusty here. But essentially, I'm paraphrasing. Apparently, it was drawn up for Jason Tatum, and there was meant to be some sort of action. It was meant to be some sort of variation of that Tatum, backcourt, coming from backcourt downhill play that ended up with Tatum with the ball. But Grant made a read, and that read was to drive directly into Kessler for the block, unfortunately.
Grant did have a pretty detailed explanation of what happened there. And I think it's on Joe, Malcolm, and Jason. Like, what could happen when Grant gets the ball? Tatum's standing in the backcourt.
Nobody moved.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Malcolm's still out of bounds. And the other two guys are covered. Like, Grant really didn't have, like, he could have waited an extra second, like he had time, but Tatum had not moved a muscle yet at all.
Jaylen tripped trying to run to the corner. I don't know if you noticed that, but Jaylen trips up trying to get open in the corner. So it's like, what is Grant supposed to do?
Yeah. It was maybe putting Grant in the situation where he has to make the decision. So it's like Joe, number one, Jason, Malcolm, Grant, if we're going to hand out the hierarchy of playing for the last play. But that, again, Tatum, like when he got asked in the post game, are you frustrated with Grant because he, didn't give you the ball and the handoff? It's like, no, I'm not frustrated at Grant. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't move. Firstly, you can't be angry at Grant. But he said that's not how we lost the game, and he's right. Like that, as much as you want it to come down to the last play and execute that last play, like you're not going to shoot a high percentage on on shots that have 5 seconds left of the game. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. I looked at the clutch offense numbers because it feels like the Celtics have been a disaster in clutch this kind of lately and this year. The Bucks are first in the league at 26-8. The Celtics are second at 23-12, and the Sixers are third at 24-14. Post All-Star break, we're 10th in the league at 5-5. Like, that's just kind of standard. And then Ime last season, 13-22, a disaster.
Awful.
A disaster.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And it came through in the playoffs as well. We lost a lot of the close games, and the games that we won were the ones we won going away. Mm-hmm. The clutch games we didn't do very well in.
Yeah, and sorry, Ben, not to cut you off, but here I go.
I had nothing.
But everyone's making fun of Joe for running a variation of that same play he's run. That's the first time it hasn't led to a good shot. I mean, it got Tatum the game-tying dunk against Cleveland where he got fouled and we should have won that game. It got him that open layup against the Rockets. It got Al a wide-open corner three to win the game in double OT against the Knicks. I believe there was one. The Sixers game, we ran it and he got the pull-up three to win the game. Like, that play has worked every single time. So why go deeper into your playbook and show other coaches more of what you have at the end of the games for playoffs when you're just keep running a variation of the same thing and it keeps working? Maybe we see something different now that it's not worked, but also he's run stuff for Jaylen the end of the first overtime and in the Knicks game. He got Jaylen isolated on the wing against Quentin Grimes. He got the and one to tie the game, go to double OT. That's a different play. That's an intentional play to get Jaylen Brown isolated in an empty side. So I just think that criticism is pretty unfounded. It looked ridiculous last night, or 2 nights ago, whenever it was. But I mean, for the most part, we've been pretty effective at these. Like, to Jake's point, the odds of making these shots are low. So the fact that we're getting good looks means the process is right and Joe's mostly doing his job.
Yeah, that is the correct viewpoint, that he should stick with, or we should stick with what works. But fans like myself, like, we find ourselves, these armchair warriors getting frustrated that we don't seem to have more of a repertoire as far as, end of game options. But of course, like, why should we show our hand if we don't have to in the regular season? So I do agree with that, as frustrating as it is in the moment. And going with Grant Williams there, if we indeed were trying to go with Grant Williams, he had 12 points in the fourth quarter. It's not, the hot hand, but he had been very effective in that fourth quarter. Unfortunately, made a decision to drive into Walker Kessler. And I will read that quote. This is from Kessler after the game. "I figured he was going to shot fake, so I stayed down and tried to time it as best as I could, and I got a hand on it," Kessler said about his rejection at the rim, which, maybe speaks to some predictability that's being born out of Grant's game lately, that it's like either jack a three or shot fake. Those are his two moves. And when you're in the paint, jacking a three is not an option. And therefore the shot fake is going to occur. So well read there by Walker Kessler. And unfortunate that Grant doesn't have more variation in his game to pull out in that particular moment. But, it's tough to imagine how one would act in that situation as non-NBA players. Sticking with Joe Mazzulla, coaching criticisms. I know we're defending him here. But we talk about him, part of his role is like to put guys in a position to succeed. And what's your read, Jake, on Jaylen Brown only having 2 field goal attempts in the entire fourth quarter? Tatum had 3, maybe a little bit more forgivable given how much he was being blitzed and double teamed throughout the course of the game, particularly in the second half. Jaylen Brown only having 2 field goal attempts seems concerning to me.
I feel like this is a Jaylen thing, not a Joe thing. Because I think this goes back to last year and with Brad. I feel like we're often, and I can see if I can pull it up, but I would guess that Jaylen's field goal attempts in the fourth quarter are often pretty low considering how many he takes for the whole game. And I think that's Jaylen not making it a point to go get the ball. Like, if you want the ball, a lot of the time you can find a way to get it, whether it's cutting, going to get it at the top of the key. Like, you can often go get it. Maybe you draw some stuff up. I know we've been talking about drawing some plays up for him at the end of games, because Tatum's been cold, pretty cold as of late. And so getting Jaylen, who's been on a tear since the All-Star break, maybe we let him actually have a shot here. He had that clutch 3 late in the fourth quarter. Also missed another one. But yeah, I'd like to see Jaylen get some more opportunities at least. But for as far as him not getting enough field goals in the fourth quarter, I think that's been a thing for a few years now, and I don't think it's a coaching thing. I think it's a Jaylen thing.
Interesting,
guys.
What do you think, Spoons?
Not to come in with too many stats here, but Jaylen does average more field goals attempt in the fourth quarter than Jason Tatum.
Wow.
Okay,
yeah, and he also is like top 10 in scoring in the fourth quarter. He's 13th with 7 points per fourth quarter.
That is surprising. Well, I take everything I said back.
Where was he when we needed him?
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys are hitting on the point that Tatum dominates the last 2 minutes, right? The money time when we really need a bucket, it goes to Tatum. And like, doesn't that speak to maybe it should start going to Jaylen a little bit more if he's one of the best fourth quarter scorers in the league, right? So like, I mean, if we're looking at just like the crunch time, yeah, I think that's absolutely spot on. He's the guy to start the fourth quarter, and then Tatum takes over. Even if like Jaylen's got like, say 44 points against the Rockets or whatever it was, and it still goes to Tatum. So yeah, I think we need more Jaylen in late game situations. My only concern is he turns it over a lot. So I wonder if that's why Joe, and yeah, I think this has been a complaint since Brad, is that we ice out Jaylen Brown in fourth quarters. So I think of any of his coaches, Joe's probably been doing the best job keeping him involved in the fourth quarter. But even still, those last 2 minutes when we really need a bucket, it's always Tatum. And especially now where he is ice cold. It's not been working.
And, if fatigue is a factor, which we have to assume that it is for Tatum, I know that we all ride the Tatum roller coaster. He has had some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows of any player that I've ever stand in my life. But right now he's really in that trough. And, fatigue, clearly a factor given just the volume of basketball he's played since joining the NBA. And obviously the wrist is a factor as well. Active rest, we talked about it a couple of pods ago, is probably one of the strategies for the Celtics. Like, we're not going to sit him, but we're going to let him, play at 50% or 75% capacity or whatever it might be, so that he doesn't have as much mileage on his legs come the postseason. Surely part of that in the fourth quarter should be going to the hot hand in Jaylen Brown, like a very legitimate 1A or 1B, whatever you want to call it, for the Celtics. Disappointing that wasn't a factor in this game, because you look at the 2 field goal attempts for JB, how hot he's been, the fact that we lost by 1, that could have been the difference. But really, going up 19 and then letting fatigue bring you back down and give up that lead, there's a lot going into this loss. It's not just the fact that Jaylen Brown only had 2 field goal attempts, but it's certainly a concerning point. Before we move on, guys, we're going to get to this wild would you rather section, but while we're hanging on the Jazz game or the Blazers game, have you got anything else that you want to drop with regards to the weekend's worth of games?
I know Tatum, as far as shooting, is definitely in a slump, but the Blazers game, I thought, was some of the most locked in. Minnesota and the Blazers game, defensively and the defensive boards. The team just looks completely different when he's playing like defense at his peak, because at his peak, he's one of the best wing defenders in the NBA, and we're just not seeing it consistently, which is fine. That part's fine. I think we've kind of all spoken about, like, I would prefer not to see the active rest part. Like, at this point, he's gonna get pretty close to 70 games regardless. So let's just let him actually take some of these games off, because I think the active rest actively hurts the team sometimes. Last podcast, we spoke about Tatum in the post. Spoonie basically spearheaded this conversation now on the internet. It feels like everybody's on the Tatum in the post stuff. In the Blazers game, I'm going to play a clip here. We saw literally the second possession of the game gets matched up in transition on Dame. This is an automatic free throws anytime there's a smaller player on him. And something that I'd like to see more of, he goes into the post and his little mid-range Dirk fadeaway, we're just not seeing this happen enough. Like, I know the mid-range numbers for Tatum aren't very high, but like these, to mix it up, like you look at his shot chart right now, it is so Morey ball. Like, it's just all threes and all in the paint. And he's not shooting a high efficiency on threes. So why not because I feel like he gets a rhythm when he gets some of these post touches and just keeps the defense a little bit more on their toes. Like, let's just, get a little post. He can pass out of there. Like, if he makes 1 or 2, then now the defense is going to start to shade over, and those passes can be easier. It gets the ball moving. Like, and then we saw 0 post touches in the Jazz game. And so I don't know if it was a fatigue thing, and we feel like it doesn't make sense to me.
On that turnaround fadeaway, Jake, I saw a stat today. He's shooting over 50% on post turnarounds. So that's an incredible shot for him. But I think a lot of it had to do with how the Jazz were defending him, because this is him on the catch, posting up at the 3-point line. Look at that. He's catching the ball, and there's
what?
already 2 Jazz on him, and they're just completely ignoring Mike Muscala. And you can see Rudy Gay with his eyes all over Tatum. So I think that goes to how the Jazz were defending. But to your point, that's a good thing. Like, that is such an easy way to create efficient offense. Jason Tatum just has to turn his back and catch a ball, and all of a sudden somebody's wide open. Do that every play. Like, that's what we want. We want him to get doubled in the post, because then it makes offense super easy for everybody. So, yeah, more Tatum post-ups. Just post up, dude. You better do it in the playoffs. I understand if he's saving himself, but damn.
Yeah, Go on, Ben.
Go ahead, Jake.
No, I was just going to read this comment here. I'll put it up on the screen.
So back in November, December, when it was, peak Missoula ball and everyone was celebrating, our 3-point volume and 3-point accuracy, the Tatum story there was how efficient he was from 2. And I think he was leading the league, or at least had his position in various 2-point scoring levels and areas and zones and whatnot. It wasn't that he was like jacking it up from 3 really successfully along with the rest of the team. It was that, he was being opened up for incredible 2-point score. I think it was like 70% at the rim at one point. There were some mid-range opportunities for him as well, some post-ups. We've really gone away from that. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but, that's more of a high effort approach to the game offensively. I can't help but think again along the lines of active rest. I really hope that we can just open the lid on that, crack the lid on that, if you will, for the postseason, or at least a few games heading into the postseason to get back in a rhythm there for Tatum, because clearly those opportunities are there, and clearly Tatum asserting himself in that sense of his game opens up 3-point opportunities for the rest of the team as well. So really important that we get back to that. I hope that the deviation away from that is just about playoff readiness and health and preservation and things like that.
I was going to pose a question to you guys, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
A lot of it seems to coincide with Smart's injury, right? And who is better than getting the Jays in their spots? And we saw it last night. Smart plays the Portland game. He's posting up. He's getting in all these spots we want him to. He doesn't play in Utah. And then all of a sudden that all goes away and Tatum's running a million high pick and rolls. Do you guys think it has to do with Smart going out?
Yes.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No question.
Yeah.
The Celtics have been at their best offensively when Marcus has been playing the point guard, whether it was the second half of last season or the first half of this season. Marcus Smart's the point guard. As much as we love Derek White, he doesn't quite have the level of chemistry that Marcus has with Jason and Jaylen. Those backdoor cuts where Jaylen, Marcus is dribbling to the wing, Jaylen fakes a handoff and then goes backdoor. That is becoming an absolute staple. I think it's coming with Tatum as well. There's been a couple that have kind of had some hands on balls the last couple games. Derek, as good as he's been, he doesn't have that mind meld with Tatum and Jaylen, and just Marcus just. I think he sees it. He a play or a second or two earlier when Tatum has position or Jaylen has the right spot. So yeah, I think it definitely the maestro.
The maestro, his stock was rising. I think still is. The last few games, Minnesota, definitely against the Blazers, he was conducting. He was maestroing, and we saw success out of that. I know we only won the Wolves game, by the skin of our teeth, but the success that we have seen very recently has been very much Marcus Smart centric. So hopefully he's not on that injury report as well, along with Rob Williams heading into that Kings game, because, we win this, and we're going to get to the Kings game at the end of the pod, but, we win that game by 10 or more. Suddenly, that's a narrative shifting victory. All of a sudden, we walk away from this long road trip 4-2. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but to have some guys back to potentially make that
when has that ever
reality
backfired?
Very spicy. Would you rather Celtics edition part 2? We've done this before to great success, and this is really where we need you folks in the chat to chime in with your Celtics related would you rather propositions. I'll start, guys, and maybe we can just keep going around the horn until we tire ourselves out, kind of like the Celtics did against the Jazz in the second half last night. Would you rather Jason Tatum pull up 3 at 37% or Maestro Marcus Smart forever? And I've stolen one of your guys. I've just started at the top of the list, so I apologize.
Yeah, that's fine. That was mine.
I put it to both of you. Jason Tatum shooting pull-ups at 37%. I think is at 28-ish now or less. Or Maestro Marcus, focused, dialed in, best version of Marcus Smart forever. Start with you, Jay.
I think it's the pull-ups because I think we can live with 80% Maestro Marcus and 20% chaotic Marcus, and the net result is still fantastic. But when Tatum's shooting the pull-up three at a high level, he's literally like the best player in the NBA. Like it's just he's completely unstoppable. So I think that's definitely the number, and he needs to get a new trainer for the offseason. Someone's going to fix his 3-point shot.
Yeah, calling out Drew Hanlon.
Sorry, Drew.
It. Yeah, sorry, Drew, and we know you're listening.
Yeah, enough of this Embiid stuff.
Yeah. I think as nice it would be to see Smart stop trying off the backboard alley oops in games that are not 40-point blowouts. Yeah, it's got to be Tatum's pull-ups, man. He's so unguardable when that's going down, which is why I think he goes to it so much because he knows, if this is going down tonight, I'm gonna have 45. So give me Tatum's pull-ups.
Interesting. I would take Maestro Marcus Smart every day of my life because I feel like a positive symptom of that would be Tatum's pull-up everything. The Celtics are at their best when Marcus Smart is playing that way, and to the point where we can afford Tatum shooting pull-ups at a lower percentage. Like we've seen it in the best parts of this season. So for me, maybe the most important factor of the Celtics having success in the postseason is Marcus the Maestro Smart, conducting the orchestra at an elite level. So I'll throw it to you guys to throw out the next Would You Rather so that I don't verbally dominate this segment. But what do you guys got for us?
All right, I'll take the next one. And Justin in the chat, no, this is a calming podcast. We're not panicking. This is safe. Rob's back. He's off the injury report. Life's good. Okay, would you rather JB's mid-range fader or Sam Hauser's liquid 3-point stroke? And I'm guessing this is more just from a personal perspective. Is that where we're going with this one?
I guess we're all over the shop.
I took it as what do I find more appealing in a player, essentially. And I am I grew up on that late 90s, early 2000s hoops where mid-range was king. There is nothing more visually appealing to me than watching an elite mid-range shooter. There's just something about it, like somebody's draped all over you and you just rise up with that soft fadeaway like DeRozan or Jaylen does. So I'm taking JB's mid-range all day over Sam Hauser.
Yeah, I mean, you sound very close to a Kobe Bryant Lakers sympathizer there. With that
Never, man. Pierce had a nice mid-range game. Come on.
I will say, Sam Hauser, I don't think we're quite appreciating how good of a shooter he is. Some of the shots that he gets off with such little space and pulling passes off his shoelaces and letting it fly. I'm excited to kind of see where Sam Hauser goes over the next kind of couple of years. Once he gets a little bit more in the weight room, gets in that NBA diet and program in the off season. But yeah, there's nothing better like JB pivot, or cross, pull it back, bang. It's just poetry in motion. You can't go away from that one.
I'm taking Hauser's 3 because I just turned 36 a couple of weeks ago, and last night I was playing basketball, and I tell you what, running 3-point line to 3-point line with some sort of productivity out of that is much easier on the joints and the body at this particular age than trying to get anywhere in the paint, particularly against zone defenses, which is what anyone plays anyone plays at this particular level. It's impossible to get into the paint. So being able to jack up threes despite fatigue throughout the course of the game. I know I'm going away from the Celtics here. I'm talking about my own personal life, but shooting at literally an elite level at my age would prolong my game for years. And I fear that my playing days are coming to an end. So I'm nowhere close to getting a Sam Hauser level 3-point shot. Spoonie, what's your would you rather prop for us?
All right, I'm gonna skip this next one we have in the notes and let whichever one of you wrote it take it. So I came up with we guarantee Rob's health through the finals, but anybody else can get injured, or you guarantee the health of the rest of the roster, and you just take Rob as he is. Like, so he might not get hurt, or he may. You don't know. Which would you rather have?
Oh, that's
so
speaking
it's
to like my gambler mentality here.
So you're saying
Jake.
we get Rob healthy, and then we have the current health probability of everybody else. As
Exactly. Like Al,
give me-
Brogdon, Tatum with the wrist, like, or you can
give me Rob
guarantee-
healthy.
All
Give me
right.
Rob healthy. Look, the only one on the team that has like ever missed a playoff game is Marcus. Like Al's never been injured a day in his life. That's me
Brogdon,
knocking.
Touch wood.
Jaylen.
I'm touching a lot of wood. No. Give me the title unlocking key guy. Give me that guy.
Yeah, I'll take healthy Time Lord at the risk of anyone else's injuries. Given that, if, like, without any of this, we're risking all of those injuries and Rob anyway, I'll take a guaranteed healthy Rob all day. What do you think, Spoons?
Yeah, Rob's sweeping it. Give me healthy Rob. I'll risk everybody else. We need Rob. It doesn't matter.
Jake, do you want to circle back to your spicy would you rather?
This is tough. So
Impossible.
We need audience participation on this one
Yeah.
as well. Those in the
would
chat.
you prefer to have Al Horford's beautiful, gorgeous blue eyes or Jaylen Brown's biceps? This is
I've got it.
Eyes or buys?
As an already incredibly jacked man, I think I would look pretty ridiculous with Jalen's biceps on me. So give me Al's eyes.
I'm taking the ridiculous biceps. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I
Like,
love it. Yeah.
I want to like wear a formal shirt and like rip it. You know, I just want that day once in my life. Just give me that experience. I mean, eyes. You know, I'm looking out from my eyes, so it's not like I have a personal gain from that. But if I can look out from my eyes down to my musculature, then I'll take that all day.
Yeah, I'm biceps too. As a
nice.
5'7" individual, I've been trying to crush plates in the gym for over a decade now, and to no avail. I still have miniature sized biceps relative to Jaylen. Just one day to live in those would be glorious.
Genetics, bro. All right, so the buys win over the eyes. Joe always playing Derek in crunch time, or Grant Williams rediscovers his defensive abilities.
Okay, I feel like I'll go just because this is kind of the mistress versus peak Grant defense.
Close to your heart.
This is tough, but go back and watch Grant's defense in the playoffs. Kyrie, KD, Giannis, like unreal. Give me back as much as it pains me. We don't need Derek as much as we need Grant's peak defense. Like we need it. If Grant can start switching 1 through 5 again and holding up on point guards all the way through the Giannis's and Embiid's, that is so valuable when you talk about raising your ceiling and getting to the finals and winning the championship. It feels like kind of like answering the same with the Rob health question. Like, give me Grant's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually, this is a tough one. There are matchups where Derek White's not really fit for. Like, I thought Anthony Edwards gave him a lot of trouble just because he's so strong. When Grant's at his peak defensively, he can stay in front of Kyrie Irving and body up Giannis. I mean, there's just not many guys it's basically like Al Horford and a few other guys who are that versatile on the defensive end. Obviously, he's not a great rim protector, but I think it's Grant's defense just from a pure playoff perspective, even though please play Derek in crunch time more, Joe. We're begging you.
Yeah, it's Grant's defense for me as well, just because of who we have coming up in the playoffs. So basically everything that you guys have said already. Okay, I've got one more for you guys, and then we'll run through our final three. Heat or Knicks in the first round, which two likely-ish first-round opponents at this point.
You want to throw the Nets in there?
Sure. Okay, I'll throw the Nets in there. I think that's going to be the answer, though, not to jump the gun. But
Fair.
Who's your preference?
Fair. Yeah, look, we'll stick with the Knicks and the Heat. Give me the Heat. I know they have the poltergeist, paranormal, supernatural element to them. The Knicks are so much better. And the Knicks also have our number. So like I think when you think about history playing into it, I think the Knicks have actually legitimate chance of beating this, or a more legitimate chance of beating the Celtics. As painful and terrifying and horrifying as some of the games against the Heat would just be, we will still win that series. No doubt in my mind. But there's like a tiny bit of doubt in my mind when it comes to the Knicks. They're a deeper team. They're more talented. But the Heat, man, doesn't matter who they're playing. It's the Pistons yesterday. They come back, winning another game in crunch time. Or they're playing who was the contender they played the other day? I forget, but like play them down to the wire. It doesn't matter who it is. Their point differential is negative 0.5 right now. It's because they play everybody tight. They have 50 clutch games this season.
That's insane.
50. Yeah.
50.
That is insane. 50 games within 5 in the last 5 minutes.
51 after yesterday. Like they should be the 11th seed. They should be the 11th seed. But in the playoffs, there's no doubt that they're going to force. And in crunch time, Jimmy Butler, man, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Give me the Knicks. I know I'm just a hater at this point. I'm just a non-believer in them in the playoffs. I'm a non-believer in Julius Randle in the playoffs. Like the stuff he's hitting, the last time we saw him in the playoffs, he shot over 40% from 3 all season. Here comes Julius Randle, and then he couldn't throw it in the ocean in the playoffs, man. I just do not think his game translates. He doesn't get a lot of those like ticky-tack fouls and stuff he gets where he just kind of does his sort of, poor man's LeBron routine as well. So I don't trust Tibbs as a playoff coach at all. I'm very afraid of Spoelstra outcoaching Mazzulla. I'm not afraid of Tibbs outcoaching him. The only guy that worries me is Brunson. I really think he may not be underrated anymore, but coming to the season, he was the most underrated player in the NBA. That guy is really, really good. But, you can play Mitchell Robinson off the court. And then once Robinson's out there, I think their defense largely falls apart. So give me the Knicks, even though I think it's really, really close. I think we beat either of these teams for sure.
Yes, me too.
So,
sure. The Knicks have cooled off since taking us down in double overtime since then.
They were hitting some some shit in that game too. Like, come on, that is not going to happen in 7
They
games.
do. They do that against us. RJ Barrett banked buzzer beater. So
it's got to end at some point, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, over the course of a up to 7 game series, you would hope that bears the way of the Celtics in that particular one. I agree with you, Spoonie. Give me the Knicks over the Heat. I just don't want anything to do with the Heat, and I kind of want to throw the Heat at any of our potential second round matchups. Like just send them in like a squadron to like do damage to their perimeter defenses to like knock them down so that we can airstrike. I don't know. Clearly, I've never been in the military. That probably made no sense as an analogy, but you know what I mean? Like send them in, do some damage.
Go get the Bucks, fellas. Go get them, Jimmy.
Yeah, that's my preference. We've got a few more here. Spoonie, what do you got for us?
Would you rather have the first, second, or third seed given sort of the potential matchups?
I'll happily take this. Like, give me the first seed. Like, obviously, home court advantage throughout the playoffs. I think if we were to get back up to the first seed, that would give us a better record than anyone in the West as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Home court advantage throughout. Yes, there's you have to call into question what effort would it take to get there, and does that diminish our healthiness going into the postseason? But if we can get there healthy and take the 1 seed, to me, this is an obvious answer. Like, just get home court advantage throughout the course of the playoffs.
We would currently have home court advantage over the Nuggets as it stands because the Nuggets have also been sliding. So to me, it's the 2 seed. Like the Philly matchup, I want more than the Cavs matchup. Like I love the matchup for us so much more than the Cavs matchup. Like dealing with Donovan Mitchell versus dealing with James Harden is a no-brainer. I know there's the Embiid side of things, but I should not dismiss that at all. But as we speak, Bulls hanging on, up 3 here, third quarter. Come on, Bulls. Would be a classic Bulls win to just be 4 games below 500, but beat the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Sixers in a season. And like from a home road perspective, I don't worry so much about the Celtics winning on the road. Vice versa, like both the Bucks and the Celtics are good on the road. I'm more worried about getting to the conference finals at this point. Like, just get us there. We'll figure it out. I know this team can win on the road, and if we get to the conference finals, that means that we've clicked. We're back to kind of playing some of our best basketball. And if that's what's happening on the court, I don't mind playing road games in Milwaukee. Not scared of Pfizer for him. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think the Sixers can defend us. I mean, they're going to have to play Maxey and they're going to have to play Harden. And that is just a recipe for disaster. That puts so much pressure on Embiid. You got to think at least one or two of those games he's going to get into early foul trouble. And then that game is just basically over. So give me the 2 seed. Let knock out the Sixers in the second round again. Yeah. And then I don't love conceding home court to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, but yeah, I agree with you, Jake. Like they've shown they can go into Milwaukee and win games, and vice versa for the Bucks. So give me the 2. And I just think the Cleveland matchup will be so. And Donovan Mitchell just makes the most ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, give me the 2.
And they make it hard for us at the rim with Mobley. I'm also kind of out on Cleveland a little bit at the moment.
Yeah, we can stretch them out with Al, you know.
Yeah, and like defending them, they've got so many non-shooters. Like you got Mobley, Allen, plus whoever they're playing in that 3 spot. Like you're just not worried about them being Okoro, or like
come on, dude.
If you're playing Osman and it's like you don't have him on the other end, get out of here. So
we're winning the title.
Yeah, we're back, baby.
We're still so in the mix. Like it's so easy to list all of the flaws with all of our potential opponents.
But then you look at the other teams. It's like everybody is super flawed. There's no super team this year, right?
Not at all.
We are like basically matchup proof. We're never gonna have like that matchup that you can just destroy, and that's so valuable in the playoffs. I don't think any other contender has that.
That's exactly like when I watch the Bucks, as good as they are. They're still playing one of, Grayson Allen, Javon Carter, guys that you don't want to be in your top 5. Same with the Sixers. Like there's guys you can attack on one end or 0 on the other end versus the Celtics can play threats at all time, 2-way. They have the highest ceiling out of any team. The problem with the Celtics is they just don't consistently hit their ceiling. But they don't need to hit their ceiling every game. They need to hit 4 out of 7. Honestly, 3, because even when they're not playing their best, they can still win some of these games. So it's like just 3 out of 7 games, play your best, win the title. Easy.
Yeah. Speaking of interesting matchups, Jake, you've got our next Would You Rather.
I feel like, Spoody, you might have to do the accent for me here, but lobster rolls or clam chowder? That's how did I go?
It's a heavyweight fight. It really is. I think summer, I'm taking the lobster roll. Winter, clam chowder. But
yeah, there we go.
But I actually think lobster rolls are a little overrated, little bit. So I'm going clam chowder, man. Like even bad clam chowder, it's like pizza. It's pretty good as long as it doesn't make you sick.
I love clam chowder. I'm a clam chowder
Me
every
too.
day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, lobster rolls. See you later.
Are you a lobster roll guy, Ben?
Look, if I was working on a movie set and I had to come up with something like some fake vomit, I would just order some clam chowder. Like it just looks disgusting. The texture is disgusting.
Yeah.
Whereas lobster rolls, often like with music, like we tie food to memories, and going to get lobster rolls with your buddy Ro Spoonie in Boston there before an NBA Finals game. Great memory, and I wasn't aware of lobster rolls and that they were a thing, and they were freaking delicious.
Oh yeah, they're awesome, but
yeah,
they're also like $40 each.
yeah, and you gotta wait a little bit. There's some pretty good spots there in Boston, but lobster rolls all day. Still be meaning to cook one up. I suppose I've missed my mark now that the Aussie summer is finished, so I'll have to wait till next year. But I want to introduce them to the Aussie market here. One final matchup, one final would you rather. It sounded like clam chowder won that one, unfortunately.
Barely.
Ew. Would you rather the Celtics St. Paddy's Day jersey from approximately 15 years ago or the IT era Christmas Day alt jersey? Both incredible jerseys, maybe 2 of the best alt Celtics jerseys of all time, if not the 2 best. Jake, I'll start with you. Which of these 2 jerseys would you rather bring back for these current Celtics?
As soon as you mention IT, that's it for me. Like he's the reason I went from like pretty big fan to living and dying by how Johan Bergeron's playing in France. Like, he's the reason I turned into a true Celtic sicko. Like that season is like my peak sports memory ever. So give me those jerseys.
I think the St. Patty's Day is the best alternate jersey they've ever made because it maintains the classic look, but throws that little extra sprinkle with the gold lettering and the gold numbers. I just think it looks so clean. It fits in with sort of our theme of having everything classic and unchanged, but it's got a little extra spice to it. Although, agreed, the IT Christmas jerseys are awesome. Those are sick. So I would take the St. Patty's jersey, but it's a close one.
Yeah, I would take them as well. I feel like the jersey team, I don't know what department is responsible for it in the Celtics. They've always been pretty conservative, and then they'll come out with like a wild deviation, and it's like, whoa. Like, you've gone too far. Like, bring it back. Like, stay within those classical lines. There's still a lot that you can work with and keep it tasteful, like either of these two options. But is it the City Edition jersey? Is that what they call it from this year and last year? Like, I'm just not a fan. It's too.
Remember that gray monstrosity with sleeves?
The sleeved one? Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Also IT era. So you win some, you lose some.
Great jersey. Great jersey.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Now, before we wrap up for tonight, Jake, there's some intel on potential benefit for the Celtics out of the Rockets and a pick that we might be gifted by them at the end of the season based on how the rest of their season goes. Do you have any more info for us on that?
So the Rockets loss was actually good, firstly, because if the Rockets can get up to the third worst record, we get their second round pick. And if it is the worst or second worst record, it goes to the Pacers. The 33rd pick would be like a pretty big deal. Like, that range in the draft now, the mid to late 20s to the mid 30s, is a lot of good players are starting to come out of that range in the draft. And for a team that doesn't have another first round pick this year, that's essentially a first round pick. So like, when you're a team that's been trading away picks, bringing in veterans, like, eventually we're not going to be able to re-sign everybody. Eventually, guys are going to get older. Like, you're going to need an infusion of talent somehow, and that would be a perfect way to do it. So the Spurs beating the Hawks yesterday, as much as I enjoyed that, because I don't really like the Hawks very much, and then blowing a 27-point lead to the Spurs yesterday was, fun. That was actually bad for the Celtics. So just anytime you're flicking on League Pass, that's an option. That's some emotional investment. Not fun. I did not enjoy watching the Pelicans-Rockets game yesterday, let me tell you. Not good hoops.
Doing the research, though. I love it.
Yeah.
We don't have a first-round pick this coming off season. So 33, that's leaning back into the first round a little bit. Yeah. Early second there. Love it. It's good stuff. Good pickup. Any thoughts there, Spoonie, before we wrap up?
No, we need another draft guy now that Penny has retired from the content game. So we got to reach out. Or if you are somehow a fan of this show and are a draft guru, hit us up because we need a draft guy.
We're talking to you, Kevin O'Connor. It's time. Yeah. It's time to get you on the show.
Sam Vecini, I know you're out there. I know you're listening.
Grow up and come on the show.
Yeah. Sam Vecini, I'm going to fly down to Melbourne, going to knock on your door, which sounds very creepy to say out loud. I won't do that, I promise. Now, we do play the Kings tomorrow. It's 1 p.m. Sydney time. I guess that's quite late. Spoonie/Boston time. It's got to be, a 10 p.m. game there?
Yeah.
Wow. Crazy.
That's brutal.
They are playing the Jazz tonight. They've got to fly home. So they're on the second night of a back-to-back. We are rested. We've got 3 starters who we know are very rested, who didn't play against the Jazz a couple of days ago. Like I said earlier, guys, if we win this game, we're coming away from this road trip 4-2. The Kings, they're an incredible team, particularly offensively, second in the West right now. It looks like they've got that spot pretty well locked up at this point with everything that's going on with Memphis. How do you feel going into this one? I want to say, and I always be optimistic, obviously a bounce back is needed after that Jazz game. It kind of looks like they're putting it together a little bit. We talked about Smart maestroing. If he's back, if Time Lord's back, if the thirst to win is back instilled within the Jays, and there's some fatigue there for the Kings, surely we can win this one. Jake, what do you think?
I just really want to see the defense. Rob's back off the injury report. Tatum's defense has been on the up. Marcus got 3 days off, which I think was the correct decision without question. That's what I'm looking for. Win, lose, the Kings can just like go absolutely nuclear. Like they're just making all these tough shots. But best offensive in the NBA. A lot of people I think are going to be watching this one. A lot of people eyes are on the Celtics right now. A lot of eyes are on the Kings. Like this, no question, would be a narrative game. It would make listening to other various podcasts and consuming various NBA content more enjoyable for me right now. So personally,
please.
It would be just win a game that's important or like has a narrative aspect to it.
I like how we match up with offense first teams that don't have a lot of size. I think we generally have done well against the Nuggets the last few years. The Hawks are hit or miss, but this year I thought we've done quite well against them as well. So I like how we match up against the Kings. Obviously, we're going to be we've probably been in Sacramento. They probably left Utah and went straight to Sacramento. So we've beat them. No excuse to lose this game. So I think they'll come out. Cool. I think they're probably going to be pissed off after that Utah loss. So I think the C's got this one, which means they will probably lose and crush my hopes. So
just give us a double OT game, Utah. I swear, if Taylor Horton Tucker has like a 4 for 14 game, I'm going to be infuriated. I'm going to be infuriated.
Chris Dunn hitting pull-up threes and that like crazy layup. You got to be kidding.
Dude, you haven't made a shot in your whole NBA career. Tonight's the night.
I know. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and look, Kevin Huerter, he's questionable going into this game against the Jazz tonight, so I don't know how that bears out for the Celtics tomorrow, but there's at least something there. One less outside shooting threat is always good for how the Celtics defense is going to look. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a nice rating and review on your preferred podcast app. Leave a comment on YouTube here if you're not watching live already. Hit us up on social media, all that good stuff. We'll be back on Thursday night after whatever happens in the Kings game, whatever happens there has simmered down, I should say. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics.